Have you ever found yourself in a situation where your kindness, your generosity, or your willingness to help someone ended up costing you dearly? Perhaps it was your peace of mind, your hard-earned savings, or even your precious time that seemed to vanish, leaving you feeling drained and quietly resentful. It's a painful reality, isn't it? We, who have lived through decades of life, often carry a deep-seated desire to be helpful, to offer our wisdom and support. We've learned the value of community, of lending a hand. But what if that very inclination, especially as we step into our golden years, becomes a silent risk to the tranquil life we've worked so hard to build? After 60, our priorities shift. We seek peace, enjoyment, and freedom, not unnecessary burdens or emotional turmoil. It's a difficult truth, but not all acts of help are beneficial, particularly when they leave you quietly depleted. In this conversation, we're going to bravely explore 7 specific types of individuals you might encounter, and why extending your invaluable help to them after 60 can, surprisingly, lead to stress, financial strain, or a deep sense of emotional exhaustion that gradually erodes the very peace you cherish. Watch to the very end, because I promise there's a vital piece of understanding that will truly surprise you and empower you like never before. Let's dive right into the first type of individual you might want to reconsider offering extensive help to after 60. And that's what I call the chronic complainer, or the eternal victim. You know the type, don't you? Their conversations are like a constantly looping broken record of woes, criticisms, and reasons why nothing ever works out for them. Every silver lining has a cloud. Every solution you offer is met with an immediate yes, but. They might complain incessantly about their health, but refuse to make any lifestyle changes. They bemoan their financial struggles, yet continue patterns of impulsive spending or a lack of planning. Or perhaps it's the way they endlessly dissect the unfairness of their family, their friends, or even the weather. You listen. You offer empathy. You suggest practical steps. But nothing ever changes, and they never seem to take responsibility for their own circumstances. Think of it this way. Your listening ear becomes a dumping ground for their negativity, and your empathetic heart becomes a reservoir that's constantly being drained. You might start your day feeling refreshed and positive, but after just one conversation with a chronic complainer, you feel heavy, anxious, and exhausted. It's not that you don't care. You do. That's why you listen. But their constant negativity slowly, almost imperceptibly, seeps into your own spirit. You start to anticipate their calls or visits with a sense of dread. You might even find yourself feeling guilty for not being able to fix them, even though you've offered every piece of advice under the sun. This emotional burden is real, and it quietly steals your joy and replaces it with a gnawing sense of frustration and helplessness. Your energy, your wisdom, and your time are far too precious at this stage of life to be perpetually consumed by someone else's unwillingness to find solutions or embrace positivity. It's like trying to fill a bucket with a hole in it. No matter how much you pour in, it never gets full, and you're left with an empty pitcher. So, how do you navigate this? It's not about being unkind. It's about setting boundaries. You can listen, but limit the time. Gently change the subject. You might say, "I'm so sorry you're going through that." And then pivot to, "Did you hear about?" Or, "I hope things improve for you soon, but I really have to run." Your role isn't to be their perpetual therapist or their sole source of validation. Protect your peace by wisely managing your exposure to this kind of unrelenting negativity. Moving on to the second type. And this one can be particularly draining, especially on your financial well-being, the constant borrower or the financially irresponsible. This isn't about someone facing a genuine, one-time crisis that's beyond their control, where a little help can make a huge difference. We all want to be there for true emergencies. No, this type is characterized by a recurring pattern of needing money, always for something urgent, often with vague promises of repayment that rarely materialize. Or, if they do, it's late and after much prodding. Maybe it's an adult child who consistently struggles to pay their rent despite having a job, asking you for just a little more because of some unforeseen expense that somehow always seems to pop up. Or perhaps it's a friend who constantly needs small sums for groceries or bills, always forgetting to pay you back until you awkwardly remind them. The impact here is twofold: financial strain and immense emotional stress. Your nest egg, your pension, your savings, these are your security for your own future, for your comfort, and for unforeseen circumstances that might arise in your own life. Every time you dip into them for someone else's chronic mismanagement, you're quietly chipping away at your own peace of mind. You start to worry, what if I need that money later? Am I enabling them? The constant requests create a simmering resentment. The relationship becomes less about genuine connection and more about veiled financial transactions. You dread answering the phone or opening a message, anticipating the familiar request. Lending money, even to loved ones, often strains relationships more than it helps. It introduces an element of debt and obligation that can turn affection into resentment, and casual conversations into uncomfortable interrogations about repayment. Your emotional energy gets tied up in tracking IOUs and feeling guilt about asking for your own money back. It's a silent erosion of your financial stability and your emotional tranquility. How do you handle this? Be firm and clear. It's incredibly difficult, especially with family. You might say, I love you, but my financial situation doesn't allow me to lend money anymore. Or, I can't lend you money, but I can sit down with you and help you look at your budget if you like. If you decide to give, make it a gift that you can genuinely afford and are willing to never see again, with no expectation of repayment. But understand that setting this boundary is not selfish. It's a vital act of self-preservation for your own financial security and peace of mind in your later years. Now that we've gently explored how chronic complainers and constant borrowers can quietly erode your peace and finances, let's turn our attention to another challenging personality type you might encounter. One that preys on your good nature in a different way, making you question your own decisions and even your love. This brings us to the third type, the manipulative or guilt-tripping individual. This person is a master of emotional leverage. They don't just ask for help. They demand it through a subtle, often insidious, web of emotional pressure. They might use phrases like, "After all I've done for you," or "If you really cared, you would." They might play the victim so effectively that you feel like the heartless one for even considering saying no. Their tactics often involve making you feel deeply obligated, even when there's no genuine basis for that obligation. Perhaps they remind you of a kindness they did for you years ago, implying that you now owe them indefinitely. Or they might subtly imply that your refusal will cause them immense pain or hardship, leaving you feeling responsible for their happiness, or lack thereof. The insidious nature of this type is that they don't just take your time or money, they take your emotional freedom. You find yourself doing things you don't want to do, not out of genuine desire to help, but out of a crushing sense of guilt or duty. You start to resent them, but you can't express it because then you'd be proving their point about you being uncaring. This silent resentment festers, slowly poisoning the relationship and your own inner peace. Your own needs and desires become secondary to their endless demands, all framed as emotional necessities. This dynamic chips away at your self-worth because you're constantly overriding your own intuition and boundaries to appease them. You lose your sense of autonomy, feeling trapped in a cycle of obligation. It's a subtle form of emotional blackmail that, over time, can leave you feeling utterly exhausted and resentful, without even fully understanding why. How do you handle this? It requires courage and clarity. Recognize the pattern for what it is: an attempt to control you through emotion. When you hear those guilt-inducing phrases, pause. Take a breath. Remind yourself that you are not responsible for another adult's emotional reactions to your boundaries. You can firmly but kindly say, "I understand you're disappointed, but I won't be able to do that," without over-explaining or justifying yourself. The more you explain, the more ammunition they have to work with. Your feelings and boundaries are valid, and protecting them is an act of self-respect. This leads us naturally to the fourth type of person that can quietly ruin your life after 60, the ungrateful or entitled individual. This type goes beyond simply not saying thank you. It's an ingrained expectation that you will help, that you will provide, and that your efforts are simply the baseline, not something worthy of appreciation. When you do something for them, no matter how significant, it's often met with silence, a perfunctory nod, or even criticism. "Oh, you bought me that I really needed the other one." Or, "Thanks for helping me move, but you packed this box all wrong." They act as if they are owed your time, your resources, your physical effort, simply because of your relationship, and sometimes, even without one. Their entitlement can manifest as a dismissive attitude towards your kindness, a failure to acknowledge the effort involved, or even a sense of irritation if your help isn't exactly what they envisioned. The impact of dealing with ungratefulness is profoundly disheartening. Your acts of kindness, which come from a place of genuine care and generosity, are met with indifference or even disdain. This erodes your spirit. It makes you question why you even bothered. You start to feel used, taken for granted, and utterly unappreciated. This isn't about needing constant praise or accolades. It's about the fundamental human desire for reciprocity and respect. When your heartfelt efforts are consistently met with a cold shoulder or a critical eye, it slowly drains your motivation to help anyone, even those who truly deserve it. It teaches you to put up walls, not out of malice, but out of self-preservation. Your capacity for generosity is a precious thing, and it should be directed towards those who genuinely value it, not squandered on those who see it as their due. So, how do you navigate this? It starts with recognizing the pattern. If your kindness is repeatedly met with ingratitude, it's a clear signal to reassess the dynamic. You don't have to stop being a kind person, but you do need to be a wise one. Redirect your energy. Perhaps reduce the frequency or extent of your help to this person. You might simply say, "I'm unable to assist with that right now." Or, "I've done what I can." It's not about seeking applause, but about protecting your heart from the constant sting of dismissal and ensuring your invaluable generosity is cherished where it truly belongs. This brings us to the fifth type, and this one can literally leave you feeling physically and mentally exhausted, the energy vampire, or the demanding individual. These people aren't necessarily malicious, but their needs are so vast and their demands so constant that they drain every ounce of your time, attention, and mental stamina. They might call you multiple times a day for trivial matters, expecting you to drop everything to listen to their every thought or complaint. They might expect you to be their primary chauffeur, errand runner, or emotional support system. Even when other capable family members or resources are available, they don't respect your schedule, your need for rest, or your desire for personal space. They often have a crisis mentality, making every minor inconvenience feel like an urgent emergency that only you can solve. The impact on your life after 60 is profound. Your energy, while still significant, is not limitless. You need time for your own hobbies, your friends, your health appointments, and simply to rest and rejuvenate. When you're constantly pulled in different directions by a demanding individual, you lose control over your own life. You might find yourself canceling your own plans, feeling perpetually rushed, and always operating in a state of low-grade anxiety because you anticipate the next demand. This constant state of being on call leads to profound exhaustion, both mental and physical. You might start to neglect your own well-being. Your sleep suffers, and you find yourself resenting the very person you're trying to help. This quiet drain on your vitality prevents you from truly enjoying the freedom and peace that retirement or semi-retirement should offer. It's not about being selfish. It's about recognizing that your well-being is paramount for you to continue living a fulfilling life. How do you set boundaries with an energy vampire? Be explicit about your availability. You might say, "I can chat for 15 minutes right now, but then I have to go." Or, "I'm available to help on Tuesdays between 10 a.m. and noon, but my other days are scheduled." Don't answer every call immediately. Let it go to voicemail and call back when it's convenient for you. It might feel uncomfortable at first, but prioritizing your rest and personal activities is an essential act of self-care. We've delved into individuals who drain your emotions, finances, and time. Now, let's explore the final two types, which can be even more subtle in their damaging effects, sometimes quietly chipping away at your trust and peace of mind, potentially even putting your reputation at risk. The sixth type you should be extremely cautious about helping after 60 is the dishonest or deceptive individual. This isn't about a harmless white lie. It's about a pattern of dishonesty, manipulation of the truth, or a consistent lack of integrity. This person might ask you to corroborate a story you know isn't true, or to omit important details. They might constantly tell small lies that make you question their credibility, or misrepresent a situation to gain your sympathy or assistance, often for their own benefit. Perhaps they've been caught in a significant lie before, or they have a reputation for bending the rules or cutting corners. They might draw you into a scheme that sounds too good to be true, or ask for your endorsement on something you haven't thoroughly vetted. The danger here is that their dishonesty can inadvertently implicate you, your good name, your reputation, which you've meticulously built over a lifetime of honesty and integrity, can be tarnished by association. If you find yourself in a position where you're asked to lie, or to support a falsehood, or to participate in something that feels ethically questionable, you are putting your own character and peace of mind at risk. The quiet ruin isn't just about financial loss, but about the erosion of trust, both in them and, surprisingly, in yourself for going along with it. You might feel a gnawing anxiety, constantly worrying that their deception will be exposed, and you'll be dragged into the fallout. It can lead to immense stress, sleepless nights, and a deep sense of regret. Trust is the foundation of healthy relationships, and if you cannot trust someone's word or their actions, then any help you offer them is built on shaky ground. It's not about being judgmental, but about being discerning and protecting your own moral compass. How do you handle this trust your gut if something feels off, if the story doesn't add up, or if you consistently catch them in untruths? It's a clear red flag. You don't need to confront them or expose them. Simply create distance. Politely decline requests that feel ethically murky. You might say, "I'm not comfortable with that," or "I'm unable to get involved in that particular situation." Your integrity is a priceless asset, and it's far too valuable to risk for someone else's deceptive behavior. Finally, and perhaps most crucially, we come to the seventh type of person you should reconsider helping extensively after 60, the one who doesn't respect your boundaries. This type of individual is insidious because they repeatedly ignore your stated limits, push past your comfort zone, and dismiss your needs and wishes. You've clearly communicated that you're only available on certain days, but they show up unexpectedly on others. You've asked them not to discuss a certain sensitive topic, but they bring it up repeatedly. You've said no to a request, and they keep pestering you, wearing you down until you reluctantly agree. They might make decisions for you without your input, invade your personal space, or simply disregard your preferences because their own desires take precedence. It's not always malicious. Sometimes it stems from a lack of awareness, but more often it comes from a deep-seated self-centeredness or a belief that their needs always trump yours. The silent ruin this type inflicts is the gradual stripping away of your autonomy and dignity. Your boundaries are the invisible fences that protect your mental, emotional, and physical space, allowing you to live your life on your own terms. When someone repeatedly bulldozes over these fences, you start to feel unheard, disrespected, and powerless. You might feel a constant sense of violation, like your personal space or time is no longer truly yours. This leads to chronic stress, resentment, and a profound sense of exhaustion as you constantly fight to reclaim what is rightfully yours. After 60, you've earned the right to peace and control over your own life. You've spent decades fulfilling obligations and perhaps putting others first. Now is the time to prioritize your own well-being. Allowing your boundaries to be consistently ignored is a direct assault on your peace of mind and self-respect. So, how do you handle this? This requires strong, consistent boundary setting. Reiterate your limits clearly and calmly, without anger or excessive explanation. "I understand you'd like me to," But I'm not available for that. If they persist, you might need to enforce consequences, such as ending a conversation or leaving a situation. In severe cases, it might even require reducing contact or, for your own well-being, severing the relationship altogether. Remember, respecting yourself enough to enforce your boundaries is not an act of selfishness. It is a profound and necessary act of self-care. It's about preserving your mental health, your freedom, and your ability to truly enjoy the years ahead. We've walked through 7 challenging types of individuals: the chronic complainers, the constant borrowers, the manipulators and guilt trippers, the ungrateful, the energy vampires, the dishonest, and those who simply do not respect your boundaries. It's a tough pill to swallow. Acknowledging that our inherent desire to help might sometimes be turned against us, or simply drain us dry. But here's the beautiful truth. Recognizing these patterns isn't about becoming cynical or cold-hearted. It's about becoming wise. It's about protecting the precious peace, the hard-earned wisdom, and the valuable resources, both emotional and financial, you've accumulated over a lifetime. It's about channeling your incredible capacity for generosity towards those who genuinely need it, who appreciate it, and who respect you. Your life after 60 should be a period of calm, joy, and fulfillment, not one of endless obligations and silent burdens. It's about living authentically, and sometimes that means setting courageous limits to safeguard your precious well-being. I'm so curious to hear your thoughts on this. Have you encountered any of these types of people? How did you handle it? And what wisdom can you share with others who might be struggling? Share your experiences and insights in the comments below, because your stories could be just what someone else needs to hear to empower themselves. If this video resonated with you, if it gave you something to think about, please give it a thumbs up. It truly helps us reach more wonderful people like you who are committed to living their best lives. And of course, subscribe to the channel and ring that notification bell so you don't miss out on more practical advice to help you navigate life with greater peace and joy. Remember, after 60, your life is your masterpiece. Paint it with peace, joy, and the connections that truly lift you up. You've earned the right to live your best life at every age. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.